Definitely been more tired these last couple days, sleeping 9 or 10 hours, feeling kind of when I wake up, and seeing that it's kind of the end of that major creative energy. But then I was thinking about something I've said to myself before is, can I still gesture in those creative ways when the energy isn't there to help me along? And if I'm able to do that, I feel it's reinforced in the nervous system even more. And last night I did something I haven't done in a really, really long time. I ate 5 Laura bars. When I was walking yesterday, I felt like I was craving those bars and I wanted the chocolate in it, and I don't usually get that. And I've been really hungry lately, but I haven't done that. I've eaten a lot of dinner, like the rice or the broccoli or something. So I think that was a different pattern. So I can't say, well, that's a different me. There is no me, but different energy level creates different behaviors. And I just sat there and ate those 5, and it didn't bother me because I wasn't resisting it. I wasn't saying, this isn't something I should do, because if I do that, then I'm reinforcing this static, consistent me that's not there. I just kind of watched it happen, and it was interesting. And I'm talking about it because I want to talk about most things, not only the wonderful creativeness, but these interesting other things that happen that are indicators of the end of that state. Yet, just like I don't feel like this crazy euphoric energy in a super creative state, which would then make it maybe a mania, I don't feel a super depressed state when the energy starts retreating and the expansion starts contracting, because it's not associated with a me. If the me is there thinking, oh, well, I want to be happy, then when there's not that euphoria, then that would lead to depression. And this is an oversimplification, but I'm feeling like I've decoupled the euphoric states or the depressed states from this energy that comes in and makes oneself more creative, or the body then is tired. It's a biorhythm. There's some kind of rhythm there, a creative rhythm, but it's not a problem, and it's not a personal problem. And I feel like I did get to the end of that creativity because I did start to see some things that were so-called dissociative or slightly distressful, and that's usually when the creative energy ends. There's some distress there, and it was a couple days, and that's happened before, and I've landed in the hospital, but this time it was a couple days and it was very subtle. And just like being in the hospital for a few days, I come out and I feel groggy and like tired and slowly get back into something else. This is the equivalent of, okay, well, I'm a little groggy, tired, slowly getting back into that creative rhythm. It's a burst of energy that ends and doesn't need to be made a problem out of, or a personal problem, just as one is seeing creatively and seeing visions. Or I feel like when one is creative, one doesn't see visions and hallucinations, but one sees possibilities of creativity. And when one is being creative, one is actualizing that creative energy, so it doesn't go into abstractualizing with that energy. If I sit here and that energy is here, I'm going to eventually project visions and hallucinations and delusions. But if I'm creating with that energy, there's no reason for the brain to create abstractions with the energy, because I'm moving with the energy, what it is moving me to do. And then it ends, and then that's when there's a little bit of dissociation, because the creative state is when there is no me really in operation. That's how it can be so new. So then when at the end of that energy, when the me is coming back in, the me is fear. So it feels some fear, and then there's some creativity in the projections of the fear, like feeling the homeless people. And I think it's also partly reminding the being, creativity for what? It's not a personal thing. Look at this wonderful burst of creativity you got, and you were creating ideas for this business to help people and things like that, and to facilitate more creativity. and remember why, because we're one. So the end of it all is a reminder, hey, that energy wasn't for you. It wasn't a personal, pleasurable thing. And I didn't make it into a personal, pleasurable thing. I was creating something to hopefully facilitate more creativity. And I'm reading that book on creativity, something. I can't remember what it's called. And it's talking about how creativity is programmed out of us, which I already understand this, but it's interesting to read it in books that people have taken the time to write. And yeah, so when I was feeling that homeless feeling, it was reminding me, yeah, there's people suffering. That's one of the reasons why there is creativity. Creativity is to solve these problems. We need creativity to solve these problems. We can't solve them by rearranging what is already there. We need new perceptions, new insights, new ideas, new structures. So this creativity is to create that. And it gave me a lot, and I recorded it and wrote it down and things. And now it's a matter of showing that to the business people. But what I'm saying is, it makes sense that the creative energy would make us feel that oneness of suffering a little bit, because it's to remind us what that energy is for. Some society's so programmed and conditioned us to think everything is for us and our personal pleasure, that when this creative energy comes in, it's so easy for us to make it about us when it's not. And that's what makes the fall really hard, is when we put it into ego inflation. And that book 1000 by Ramaji talks about that. And he talks about how it was interesting, a page in that book said that he doesn't know of a single course that helps people with the fall, to prevent the fall. And I think that's something I'm learning to do, is to prevent the fall. As I was in a super creative state, lots of energy, no euphoria, creating something for the betterment of the world, I hope, as grandiose as that sounds. What else is there to do with that extra energy? It's not for me. I don't even want the stuff that I've created with the energy I've had along in my life. So there's very few things that I see that I need now. And so I'm saying part of preventing the fall is create something for the good of all, one's altruism project. And with that energy, and not putting it into more pleasure and things, it's so easy for us to do that. It's so easy for us to utilize that energy to augment the circuits that are already there, conditioned into us. And if we do that, if we don't see that that energy can help us create new behaviors, perceptions, actions, gestures of oneness, if we use it to create more division, we are going to feel very divided and alone at the end of it all. And yeah, I feel a little tired, like, oh wow, yeah, there's this body that I operate with, and it ate some Laura bars, and it's feeling more tired after that. That's all very reasonable. So the only security in these states and this creative energy is to utilize it to create something for the good of all, not for the good of the ego self. That's temporary. That is augmenting a pleasure circuit, which is a temporary jolt of pleasure juice, which is wired into our brain cells like Pavlov's dog. All these circuits have been wired into us. They're not even real. They're not even real human circuits. They've been educated and marketed into us. And this book that I'm reading, Swarm Intelligence, talks about that, how the education system does that to us. And I took a class in that too, and it talks about the invisible curriculum. And school isn't about learning those things as much as reward, punishment, right, wrong, social status of those people who get the right answer, fall in line. It's really sad. So there's different rules, and I'm trying to figure out these little rules of swarmania. So one of them is, don't use the creative energy to inflate the ego, because it's not even there. And that's inflating a structure that has been conditioned into us like Pavlov's dog that isn't a real human circuit. It is a conditioned circuit to control us and get us to do the things that builds the society as it is, like war machines, competition, all of this stuff. And that's not really how we're meant to operate, and we're trying to create a new operating system by operating in different ways. And that is especially so when people have this creative energy, but it's very difficult to not funnel that into the dominant grooves and circuits in the brain. And one of the rules is don't harm anybody. These thought storms can come in and almost feel like they're directing us to harm someone sometimes. I've only had that once or twice, and I handcuffed myself one time and I freeze. I just sit there and freeze and just stay still. Don't do anything. Don't say a word. Wait for it to pass. It will pass. Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt other people. And it's thought, it's sound in the brain. It's not really happening. If it's something violent, it's probably not happening now. I don't know what I'm saying, but there are just a few rules to Swarmania, and I'm going to figure them out so we can understand how to operate and just be quiet about this, and that will affect the whole. It's about epigesturetics. And some gestures are too far beyond, and people aren't ready for them, and we will be swarmed. We already create a swarm around us. So you could think of the queen of a colony and everyone's operating around the queen or something. Well, when we're captured by the mental health system, we have all these different classes of people there to swarm around us, clinicians, doctors, other patients. It creates this whole colony of mental illness around us, trying to fix us. There's a different colony that happens when we're able to master this energy. Think about what might organize around you and all of us as humans operating intelligently, creatively, magically, mysteriously together, without all of this structure, but just with a few simple gestures, simple rules of the human nervous system. I imagine that's what built the pyramids, some simple rules and humans operating together. And what could we build now if we really cooperated? And I don't know. It seems pretty simple. Blah, blah, blah. I'm feeling a lot of energy moving around. I think it's because I ate way too many grapes yesterday and today. I think the grapes, the sugar goes to my brain really, really quickly, and I feel lots of energy doing nothing but moving around and feeling strange. So yeah, no more grapes.